button right there, and that's it. Just hit that button right there, and this will turn red.
Perfect.
We will go, and happy Friday. We will go ahead and get started so we keep everybody on time and we're mindful of that. I'm really excited about today's program. We have Chrissy De Alejandro from Tennessee Achieves and Mike Taylor from Knox Ed Foundation, and they're going to present on their organizations. And I have to say, I've worked closely with both of these people. They are experts in their field, and they're amazing and good friends, and I'm just so blessed that we have partners like them, because in education we don't work in silos. It takes a community to make sure that our kids are set up for success, and these two have amazing initiatives and programs that they're going to highlight. So welcome to both of you, and thank you for taking time out of your day. So with that, I know Chrissy's on a little bit of a timeline, and this is so casual, so y'all can just sit and kind of go over
Sure.
your stuff. We could ask questions as we kind of move along through the presentations, if that works well for you guys too. So, awesome.
That would be great. Yeah.
Welcome.
Well, thank you all for having me. Excited to have a conversation with you about Tennessee Achieves. I think it's always really important to think about where you came from. And so for us, launching 15 years ago in Knox County as a small nonprofit with the idea of giving every student the opportunity to earn a high quality credential after high school was sort of a game changer. To be honest, no one was really thinking about that pipeline quite like we know now. This is a national phenomenon. Promise programs have popped up all over the country, but when we were thinking about this idea in 2008, it really was a brand new concept, the idea that every student, regardless of zip code, regardless of academic preparedness, had the opportunity to go. And as a first-generation college student myself, it was a dramatic thought in terms of when you could walk into a group of students and say, everyone in this room has the opportunity to go to college for free, but we also will provide you with guidance and support on that journey, because I've always thought the funding is the carrot, right? It's what brings students and families to the programmatic supports that we have. So I would be remiss if I did not say thank you to this community for always saying yes to the things that we want to do at Tennessee Achieves to serve students. So just to sort of root us in some data, so if you know me at all, I'm a data nerd. Betsy's laughing at me. It's true. I love data. It is the backbone of the work we do. It's great to work with students and think about changing individual student trajectory. It's a whole different thing to think about this at scale, and how do we actually move needles in communities and for our state. So you can see here 15 years of Tennessee Achieves. We've served almost 600,000 students since inception. We haven't filed all 515,000 of those FAFSAs, but our students have completed that thanks to truly amazing school counselors who pour so much into that FAFSA completion space. Tennessee continues to lead the country in FAFSA completion. Of that 566, we've had over 300,000 students who have enrolled at some type of post-secondary with 135,000 of them actually taking advantage of Tennessee Promise. So just to step back a bit, remember, Tennessee Promise excess lottery dollars that have been placed into an endowment beginning with the 2015 cohort. This was a statewide initiative, thanks to Governor Haslam and Randy Boyd. It's sustainable now forever, we can say to a kindergartner, college is your destiny. It's a really amazing workforce development tool, quite frankly, that we have in Tennessee. The majority of our students using the Tennessee Promise now to attend community college, many going to our Tennessee College of Applied Technology or the TCAT, and there is a four-year institution. If a four-year institution offers an associate's degree, the student may attend that, but it doesn't serve as last dollar. It's, for lack of a better word, it's less free at that point. And then we have student success metrics, which I will share with you in a bit, but we have a 66% first-year retention rate, much higher than state and national averages, a 36% three-year graduation rate, and a 47% six-year grad rate. And I will show you those comparisons in a bit. When you think about Tennessee Achieves, you often think about volunteer mentors. That's because we inundate the community at volunteer mentor time. We need mentors. We're recruiting now, so I would be remiss if I didn't say sign up to be a mentor. It's an amazing opportunity. But we also have an amazing suite of programs, everything from milestone support, so ensuring students are meeting those critical post-secondary milestones, to complete grants, which is our emergency grant funding program, and I'll talk to you about that in a bit. We're responsible for 432 high schools across the state. Those are public high schools. That does not include our private school student population. Just a benchmark, we have about 60,000 new high school seniors that come to us every November, and about 25 to 30,000 college students. So it's about a 90,000 student program that we're managing at any given time. Launched in Knox County, as I said, one county, 27 counties prior to the launch of the statewide initiative, and now we serve 83 of Tennessee's 95 counties and about 98% of the Tennessee Promise population. There's a second partnering organization known as the Ayers Foundation, a very different model from ours, and they serve the other 12 communities. As I said, big mentor goal every year for us is to ensure that every student has someone in their corner. Quite frankly, I think that's the most important thing that we do is to embed community leaders and have them walk this journey with our students. You can see here we have a very high mentor retention rate, mentors coming back time and again to work with our high school senior population as they're making that transition. This is becoming more and more difficult to recruit mentors. I'm going to totally misquote this, but I did read in the Wall Street Journal recently that volunteerism is down something like 60% post-COVID, and so convincing people to get back out into the community is an incredibly important part of what we will focus on this year at Tennessee Achieves. This is Randy Boyd's favorite slide. Our students who've given back 4.1 million hours of service. Randy says that we're the largest community service organization in the state. I don't actually know if that's true, but we're just claiming it until someone tells us otherwise. We like being first. And so it's incredibly exciting, though, for us that students are out cultivating a culture of giving back. You can see here 96% of our students say they enjoy their community service opportunity. We need to focus on that 4%. The overwhelming majority of them are doing really great work. We also organize community service events in many of the communities that we serve. In fact, my team was just out yesterday with Second Harvest here. And so continuing to spread the need in communities and allowing our students to really heighten awareness of needs throughout communities is an incredibly important part of our work. We operate summer programs across the state. Again, just really thinking about this community. Summer Bridge launched in 2012 at Pellissippi State Community College with 27 students. And we now offer Summer Bridge at 16 locations across Tennessee. The idea is to eliminate remediation. When we first started this work, over 80% of our students required some form of remediation prior to entering college. And so the idea was, how can we as a third-party 501c3 make a dent in that remedial universe? And so we have a 3-week academic boot camp called Summer Bridge that we offer. It focuses on reading, English, and math preparation on our community college campuses. It's lovely because the success rates are very high of students testing out of remediation or dramatically increasing their test scores. But for me, it acclimates our students, particularly our first-generation students, to what it's like to be on a college campus. They meet the college president. They button up their financial aid during this time. So an incredibly important component is just really making them feel welcome and like they belong, and it's sort of a soft handoff, if you will, from high school into post-secondary. We also offer Summer Institute, and I say there's no silver bullets, but if there is a silver bullet, this happens to be one. We leverage the co-requisite model that we have at the community college, where students take remedial classes alongside a credit-bearing college class. This only happens in Memphis and our most high-need schools, but the students there, 72% are considered economically disadvantaged as measured by Pell. 100% of them identify as non-white, and for us, that 96% success rate means they've eliminated remediation and they have 9 credit hours when they enter. It's more expensive than Summer Bridge, and it's also incredibly hard to convince a student to give up 6 weeks of their summer. But for those who do, it's a game changer. I'll point you to the summer program's impact because for us, it's can we get that student who requires remediation and close that gap that we know exists for them? And if you look at that 3-year graduation rate difference in the middle, that 18% would be students who require remediation without Summer Bridge. Their 3-year grad rate is 18%. You insert Summer Bridge and it jumps to 33%. So we're narrowing that gap between students who do require remediation and those who don't. So incredibly exciting for our students and also for our community colleges. Honestly, getting those students onto campus, I think, is incredibly important to our presidents. We also, being that my board chair also serves as the system president for the University of Tennessee, operate the UT Promise program, which I love because it's students who are following the Tennessee Promise and UT Promise trajectory, making sure they're meeting those milestones along the way, and then they're making a decision about, am I going to the community college or am I going to UT, mostly based on funding, to be honest. And what we know here is that while UT Promise is working really well for many of our students, the majority of UT Promise applicants, and you can see this year we had just over 9,000, are making the decision to stay at their community college locally. And so for us, it's about ensuring students have multiple pathways for success and they're finding the right fit for them. Perhaps the thing I'm most excited about, and we're continuing to track our progress here, is we do have proactive coaching that is happening on our college campuses. It's really a social work model where our near-peer coaches are taking a group of students and proactively working with them on campus to eliminate all the non-academic barriers our students face. There are 3 buckets to this work that total over 7,000 students currently being served. The first bucket we call Complete. I'm not a marketer, so everything you see, it's like completion. We just want them to get all the way through. And so the first bucket called Complete is state funding. It's a 5-year pilot. We have 21 coaches. Many of those coaches were Tennessee Promise students who transferred to a 4-year institution and are now working for us as full-time coaches on our staff. They work with 5,000 economically disadvantaged students, so it's Pell-eligible students who would be served under Complete. We have Knox Promise with about 1,400 students. Those are private philanthropy dollars from the Haslam family. We're supporting every student in Knox County. So when you leave Knox County schools and you decide you want to stay under the Tennessee Promise umbrella, you receive a proactive coach that is working alongside the teams at the community college to ensure success. And then we also have a transfer pilot. It's a 3-year pilot, and I'll talk to you more about that in just a bit. What I think is really important, I'm not going to walk you through this demographic slide, but is to show you that our coach students, before I give you the data, are much more likely to be economically disadvantaged, are much less likely to be ready for college, are more likely to be first generation, and are less likely to be white. So we're paying attention to who we are in fact coaching when we're paying attention to are we being successful in those coaching endeavors. And so just to walk you through some high-level coaching stats. So our first-year retention rate for our lowest income students under the Promise umbrella is 40%. That means a student begins in the fall and returns the following fall, 40% retention for our lowest income students. If you insert a coach, that jumps to 75% first-year retention. Having that man-to-man combat, that's really how I think about this, matters so much. Think about those parents who are incredibly supportive and understand the college-going pipeline. Many times our students are working as much with our parents as they are with their students as the students are making this important transition. We've also jumped three-year grad rate from 17% to 34% when you insert the coach. And so, again, these coaches on campus meeting directly with students. We're not waiting for students to come to us. We're reaching out to the students and saying, hey, we've got an appointment. We're really looking forward to seeing you later today. We talked about complete grants a bit, that emergency grant funding. I think it's incredibly important to note that we have taken this statewide, and we're also seeing an incredible bump from complete grants. So if a student has food insecurity, housing insecurity, we're addressing that currently at Tennessee Achieves, and it's jumping that 75% retention to 82%. I mean, I told Randy we're getting really close to the UT Knoxville first-year retention, which I think is 90%, so we're coming for him. A transfer pilot, really quickly, there is a significant gap between aspiration and reality for our students. We ask our students on the community service form if they have intentions of transferring. 65% tell us right before they enter their freshman year that they do, in fact, have plans to transfer from a community college to a four-year institution, and only 24% do. So we took a random sample of that 65% over the last 2 years, and we began coaching them in this transfer space. And you can see below, in 2 years, we've moved the needle 46%. So 24 is actually a 3-year measure. And in 2 years, we've seen a transfer rate of 46% with the random samples of students we're serving. There's another 29% of students who remain enrolled at the community college. So at the end of the 3 years, we very much could be at a 75% transfer rate. Realistically, I think we'll hit about 60, but still exponentially more. And again, it just goes back to the narrative that someone in your corner really matters. $1.8 million is what we're currently spending on complete grants to ensure that students are not having these small hiccups that stand in their way of their success. Everyone hates the story, but I have to tell it. So the reason we started completion grant work is that I heard from a mom about 4 years ago, this was pre-COVID, who called and said, can you help me? My daughter is dropping out of school because she has a parking ticket at Chattanooga State. It was $30, and we can't pay it, so we're just going to walk away. And it just made me crazy. And so I paid that $30 out of pocket, and the student stayed and ended up graduating. And it just continued to play in my head. And I'm so thankful that Tennessee Achieves continues to have this entrepreneurial spirit, that we hear about things that are standing in the gap for students, and we're trying to attack it. So $1.8 million coming from both public and private sector to really eliminate those barriers. You can see here where the majority of funds are going, mostly gas and groceries. One student told the coach that this was the only way that she was able to have Thanksgiving dinner with her family. So while moving the needle is incredibly important to me, the stories that we're hearing from students, just sort of break your heart.
And I do want to break in because
Yes,
I have a similar
please do.
story. And I encourage everybody here to get involved with both of these organizations. I've done a couple of volunteer things with Tennessee Achieves. And last spring, I was doing the College Blitz that
Yes.
you guys did, and we were helping kids fill out their FAFSA forms. And there was a student, a high school student, and he said, I'm not going to go to college. I owe $15, or maybe it was $500. It was $500. My car broke down. I owe $500. I work 2 jobs. I make plenty of money doing that. One was in a restaurant and one was in construction. And he wasn't going to apply because this $500 that he owed on his car was a barrier. And right then and there, that $500 might as well have been $1 million to him.
That's right.
And so we worked through that story together, and then we did get him applied to a college. But stories like that, I just encourage everybody to volunteer, because it's a real thing. And I appreciate this so much, like everything that you guys are doing.
Thank you, Betsy. I promise I'm in a hurry. So outcomes data, I'm going fast, Mike. I'm sorry. Outcomes data, I got to talk about all the data. Outcomes data, just to bench you, the green would be the Tennessee Achieves retention, 3-year graduation rate, and 6-year grad rate. The bottom would be students at a TBR institution, so those would be our community college, 3-year, 6-year, and 1st-year retention rate. So again, sort of outpacing. And then no one wants to look at this, but it's important, I think, for everyone to know that we're really tracking our demographic data. It's incredibly important to us that we're actually closing gaps, moving the needle, and I always say this, making a dent in the universe really means that we're like scrutinizing where we are moving the needle. And then, highlights here, I love the bottom stat. An analysis of first-year retention by ethnicity reveals that Black African American complete students, so that's our coach students, retain at 60%, making them 94% more likely to retain than their non-coached peers. These are huge numbers, and what we're looking forward to is actually seeing the results of the statewide pilot. So it's the first year that coaching has actually gone statewide, so more to come there. The college going rate keeps me up at night. We've set a big goal in Knox County of 70%, thanks to many in this room for jumping on board. I think John's here and was the first to say yes to this, all in on setting a big, hairy, audacious goal. And so we're working on that. We're working with Mike actually on launching an access pilot here. So we will be embedding in Knox County schools, attempting to actually, if we're going to set a BHAG, how can Tennessee Achieves actually work toward that? And so we're embedding 5 coaches in John's 5 districts to actually move the needle with high school seniors. We're raising dollars privately to do that. And then you can see here, this is Brandon. For whatever reason, every time we ask students for a photograph, it involves their car, which I love so much. This is Brandon. You can't see it, but actually his license plate says John 3:16, which just really makes the picture even better. In a cowboy hat because it's misspelled, but we're all so excited about Brandon, a TCAT student in Nashville. And as much as, again, as we think about data, the student stories are incredibly important. So I know I went over my 20 minutes, but I'm happy to take questions. I get really excited about talking about this work.
You talk about being support volunteer coaches. Somebody wants to do that. Where do they go? Where do they look?
Yeah.
What kind of work is involved in a coach? Sometimes that's a
Yeah.
deterrent. Am I doing this for the next 7 years? Or am
Yes.
I just committing to one season? Or how's that work?
That's great. Thank you for that question, Steve. So our volunteer mentors can find all the information at tnachieves.org. We are recruiting now. We need about 600 every year in Knox County. In fact, I left you all with a Knox County one-pager. So if you want to deep dive into the Knox County data, all of it is here. And you can see breakdown by high school on the back. So when I say we love data, we really love data. It's a 1-hour time commitment every month to be a mentor. We train you and then we provide you with a weekly email that really tells you where you need to be in the process. 1 year, 1 hour a month. You choose your high school that you want to mentor, where you want to mentor, and then you work with usually about 10 students. It's a 10-to-1 mentor ratio, and 73% retention. Our mentors love it. Yeah, thank you for that.
And y'all do such a great job, too, I will say, of just walking alongside the mentors and volunteers. So it's not like you're dumped into this and, good luck with these kids. Chrissy and her team do a fantastic job of just guiding and walking alongside everybody.
Thank you.
I want to say thank you too, Chrissy. I know you and I, we work on some things together outside of this world, but I love the fact that you're trying to change the messaging to our students that post-secondary, because it's so important. I'm finding that the conversation over the last couple of years has changed, and that college is not for everyone. And when I start looking, I love data. So you're like right up, when you do look at the data, those students who say, yeah, college isn't for me, and it might be a trade, they're actually not going into the trades. They're going straight into the workforce, usually multiple jobs at one time. And so I love that you're working on kind of changing that messaging and that conversation with, yes, you can. It's available to you. Like you said, I love the fact that you said there needs to be multiple pathways, multiple options for these students to realize that, you can get a certification, a diploma. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Kim. I think, it's imperative that we all create a big tent around the word college. I think that is the barrier, because I hear all the time, well, my student wants to go to technical education. Well, that's actually college, right? And so I think it's up to us to really start changing that narrative for students, that there's a big tent around the word college.
Anyone else have questions for Chrissy? Awesome.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Chrissy. It's great work and great data, my friend. You're up, Mike. I'm excited. Knox Ed Foundation is another organization that walks alongside KCS and our community and students as a whole. And I love how you guys do different work, but you collaborate with a lot of projects. So I love that it just encompasses our world of education in Knox County as a whole.
We do. No, thank you. We do. And I think there's some great partnerships with us and Tennessee Achieves, and some of the things I share in a little bit, you'll see how they connect. So good morning. It's great to be with you today. Thanks for the opportunity to share some information with you. I know I've had a chance to sit down with some of you, and the summers I'm making the rounds, plan to connect with the rest of you. And again, if you're with the County Commission, again, would love to reach out and sit down with you and have some conversations too. I joined Knox Education Foundation January the 2nd. From this area originally, but have been in the education foundation industry about 15 years. So some exciting things happening, and look forward to connecting with you on that. So a little bit about us, if you're not familiar. I've got our mission and vision statement up there. We're in the process of going through a strategic planning process, and that's one of the things I want to take the time to sit down with everybody and chat with a little bit, get some feedback from you on some of the things we're working on. Our goal is to have that completed by sometime this fall, but taking some additional community input around that. But really, we're a strategic partner with Knox County Schools, and when folks ask me, what do you do? I often like to explain to folks, think of us as the research and development arm of our public schools. We really are that place that incubates great ideas, funds pilot projects. When folks come to you to propose, hey, let's implement this new initiative, you need that data, just like this fantastic data that Chrissy was sharing with us. You need that data to show what worked. And sometimes as an organization, we'll find out things that don't work, but that's part of that pilot process and being that research and development arm. And I also explain the organization really as an educational and venture philanthropy approach, because we're reaching out for those dollars in the community that can help support a lot of the things that make our schools great. So a couple things, some programming transitions for us. So as we're going through a little bit of a transition, as I'm sure you know, we were created by the merger of Great Schools Partnership and Project Grad back in 2020. And so with that, there's some transition taking place. Beginning in July, the Community Schools Initiative, which has been part of Great Schools Partnership for a number of years, will be transitioning to the United Way. So that work will continue to happen. It was a process, a study that went on for almost 2 years, and looking at that and some of that work. And so that'll transition over to the United Way in July. We'll continue to be supportive of that work and connected. But that seems to be the right place as both organizations work through that, for that. The second piece is some transition with Project Grad. And so that is evolving to support students In a little bit different way. We will still have an embedded staff person at Austin East High School and at Fulton High School working with students, but much as you heard about what's happening with Tennessee Achieves, we're going to be working in two ways with those students. One, supporting them in that high school space to ensure that every student has the resources and tools they need to be successful, and then in that transition to post-secondary, so they're able to get to those opportunities that are there. And I'm going to talk about those in just a little bit as I move on into some of the things that were taking place. So that work will continue, and the staffing will continue that in the transition. Really, Project Grad had been focused very heavily in scholarships and some of the things, as well as the mentoring piece. And, you know, very blessed here in Tennessee with Hope Scholarship and Tennessee Promise that over time is going to transition. So we have some scholarship commitments that we'll be continuing to support through 2025. But then after that, it'll be a bigger focus on ensuring students have that the tools and resources they need to be able to transition successfully to post-secondary opportunities. So looking at our priorities coming forward and what we're doing, again, through this transition, and there'll be a lot more that I'll be able to share with you when we get our strategic plan together. But these are some of the things we're going to be working on for the coming years. So first, one of our big roles is that research and development arm is data analytics and innovation, where we're looking at innovative projects and innovative things that we can support. And so a lot of these, through our innovative and special projects, are things from year to year with the school system we're supporting. They may be in a particular school. It may be a department within the school system. These are requests that come to us for ideas, for research, and really to bring opportunities to support you in meeting the priorities of the school system. The other piece is evidence-based strategies and initiatives that are supporting Knox County schools. So things, again, we're working together. Often there are times that these ideas come up or solutions that come that need to be put together, and we're able to you know, tap into funding that can help support and stretch those dollars that you guys have in your budget. The next piece is student and family supports, and this is where I'll talk a little bit more about Project Grad again and some of the things that are happening there. So this is something that's been part of the work of the organization, or really the two organizations over the years, both with Project Grad and with community schools, but that work will continue kind of in that role of a traditional education foundation in the work that we do. So the first part of this is Project Grad and the direct support in Region 5, and the bullet under that is that Student Success and Family Support Fund. So in that high school space, as students are in high school, that Student Success Fund will provide funding and supports to students to ensure that if there's some gap or assistance that a student needs, that they have the opportunity to that. So let's take an example. Say we have students at the robotics team at Austin East High School and they qualify for the regional or the national competition. Those things are very expensive, and it's difficult often for students to find the funds to be able to participate in that. But it opens a world of opportunities, potential scholarships. It's great on college applications, or if you're going into that field in some sort of technical school. This fund would provide support to ensure that students can participate in those, that is not a barrier. That if there's some sort of academic prerequisite that they need, some sort of recovery that's not covered under some other funding source, that this fund would be available. Our staff at the school would be able to connect those funds with the student. Could come a request from a school social worker, from guidance staff, anybody on the school administrative team, creating a fund that can immediately meet that need to make sure that there's not a barrier for that student. The Family Support Fund, similar in some short-term family crisis support, basic aid to families till we can get them connected with other resources in the community. And that's something, again, school social work staff can tap into that, guidance staff. Our staff will be there, but something we would turn around quickly if somebody says, look, we've got some situation taking place where we need to get, parent-teacher conference, and we don't have money for gas, right? That's on the basic level, all the way up to, food insecurity or something of that nature that impacts a student's success in school. It would be a short-term support for that until the staff can connect them to other resources that are there in the community. The last piece is the Knox Opportunity Fund, which, similar to the work that Grad's doing with the Student Success Fund in Region 5, this will be support across Knox County for students that there are other barriers for their success in school. Again, whether it's a fee or some sort of competition. While we won't have embedded staff in other schools, there will be some funds available to support where those needs exist for students, because we don't want to be a financial situation a barrier to just like we've talked about, $30 for a parking ticket, right? There are things like that that pop up, and teachers and school social workers and guidance counselors for years have been going into their own pockets to find the funds to support this. We're going to create some funds available, which is a traditional role for most education foundations, to be able to meet that need very quickly to support students. Educational development initiatives. This has been something that's been part of our DNA with the prior organizations over the years, and supporting our teachers and supporting work in the school system. And the first one on this is priority-based grants. So those of you in the school board remember we awarded those not too long ago. It was about $108,000 in grants back to schools. In the past, you may have been familiar with those as the Teacherpreneur grants. We've taken a little bit different approach with these in the fact that the priority-based grants going forward, that we'll have an award cycle every year, so we'll be having that again, probably will open up sometime late fall. But these are grants that can go directly to support a classroom, can support an entire school, or can support a department or a whole region with an idea. It's really a total quality management approach to the folks that have sometimes the best solutions to a challenge are teachers and school principals that are directly engaged in that challenge, and they have a great innovative idea or a new approach. This is a funding source that they can apply to. We try to keep the application very simple. They meet with a member of our team. They check with folks at there are folks at central office with KCS that are part of that to make sure it fits into priorities and initiatives and the school's priorities. But projects that we fund. And I'll give you a great example of something that could fall into priority-based grants. If we had somebody in instruction that said, hey, we want to develop a drone unit for middle school students that every middle school would have the opportunity to use in a curriculum, this can be a funding source that they can buy a variety of drones, put the curriculum together, test out what works to create then what that model would be that is replicated in multiple schools. It's a lot easier to come to us for that pilot money to test that out than it is to come to the school board and say, hey, we've got this idea, not sure which one this is going to be yet. This way it gives us outcomes and information that they can bring back to say, this worked, it improved outcomes for students, it reduced behavioral referrals, it saved money, whatever it is. Those then outcomes can come back to make the case for why they should be replicated in schools across the district. So that's something that we're going to grow. We've budgeted to give away about $250,000 in priority-based grants. Again, it'll be depending on who applies for that this year, but that's our goal coming up for this next year, and that's something that we're going to grow over time. Education and professional development, we do provide funding and do have funding budgeted this year to help with professional development. I know that's one of those tough things when you look at a budget at the school level, often for principals are looking at things that they need to do, but we'll have funds available to help support and something that we'll be assisting with as we go along through the year. And then literacy support, something that's been very important to us and will continue to be. And of course, One Book Read City, which we were super excited about being a part of. I know, Betsy, you were at some of those, went to the kickoff events. And that's something that'll be an ongoing support. We have a staff person that's overseeing that work, and we'll continue to do that because literacy is very important. And that's been a great partnership with Knox County as well. I know that's been a big priority, and we're excited about that and continuing to do that also. As we talk about career development and workforce development, the piece here that folks may not realize is we're really the convening partner behind the 865 Academies. There's a ton of work that's happening there, and the school system's done a fantastic job. But we've helped with the funding with Ford NGL and some of the partners that have helped with some of that design. We've also put some funding recently into developing the logic model so that we, again, as you're going to be tracking the data as where those students are going, how successful was it, that we're helping fund some of that research to determine, all right, how are we going to collect that data, what's it going to look like, so that we start now as those kids are again, finishing their freshman year, then we have a great process rather than when they become seniors to go back and say, oh, wait a minute, we need to go back and figure out which data we're going to capture. But we're helping with funding for that so that you'll have a robust way to track that.
And I will say, I'll break in a little bit.
Yeah, go right
so
ahead.
I was on the task force to develop 865 Academies in Knox County, and it was very intentional that it was very community-based. and what worked best for Knoxville. Because this program
Yes.
may look completely different in Nashville.
That's right.
Or in another community in another city. So I love how intentional it is. And I've been in several of the schools that are piloting this program this year, and the schools are really embracing this program. And they're really making it their own, whatever their school culture looks like. They're really taking ownership of that, and it's really exciting to see.
It is, and they've really been excited.
Yeah.
And it's great to see, as well as the excitement in the business community with being connected.
Absolutely. The business community's been excited because before, businesses wanted to come in and help, but we didn't really know what that looked like.
That's right.
We wanted the help, but what did that look like in the school? And so the business community is excited.
They
really
are.
taking ownership.
And so part of our role continuing forward will be to help with those business relationship,
Mm-hmm.
recruiting and finding
Yeah.
business, again, doing some of the training and onboarding. And then Dr. Reiswick and I, I saw him back here earlier, are co-chairing the CEO Champions. And so we have a council of
Yeah.
CEOs from across Knoxville that are meeting. We meet 3 times a year and help with some of the design, especially as we look at, hey, how do we create a field trip where we can take students into your business, right? There's OSHA regulations, there's all kinds
Right,
of,
yeah.
how do we do that? How do we design that? They're the experts in that area.
Yep.
KCS is the expert
Yep.
in the education space, so how do we marry those two together? And those meetings have been great, and it will be something that continues on, but really looking to them to help with some of that design piece.
Yep.
Next piece is again, partnerships, just as we're doing with 865, continued business partnerships and partnerships, across the community. Again, our role in education philanthropy is that, we're not just going after big grant dollars, but it's that community support from all parts of Knox County and folks that want to help impact public schools, as we're that one place, whether it's a designated gift for a particular school or something in support of project, we're really that one place that can help make a difference and connect folks' contribution right back to support our students. And then the last piece of this then is the Tools for Post-Secondary Success Fund. That is also part of the Project Grad work. And so as we heard I'm going to say fantastic presentation from Tennessee Achieves, part of that with students being successful is getting to those opportunities. Is there a barrier that's preventing a student from taking advantage of that? And, if it's, I need a laptop for college. I need a pair of, steel-toed work boots to get in the electrical apprenticeship program. Again, in most cases, there's probably some funds there that can pay for that, but if there's not, this fund will help ensure that that's covered. Or if a student is some sort of certification or testing fee, again, we'll have a fund that's dedicated to being able to support that. And part of our goal long-term is to get some of these funds endowed so that there will permanently be a fund in place that we can always go to make sure that, if a $75 testing fee is the barrier, that's knocked down, because that's a lifetime, opportunity for somebody that gets in the way. So part of that role for us will be to help put these funds in place so that they're connecting with these other resources. They're able to qualify for some of the scholarships, because again, we can have all the scholarships in the world, but if that barrier is there, they're not helping those students make a difference. So as we look at that 70 by 24, part of our hope with that goal is we're supporting you there by reducing any of those barriers that's saying, hey, kids aren't applying because of, if it's that $30 parking ticket, that's helping with that. So questions for you. I know I'll have a ton more when we get through our strategic plan and would love to bring that back and share with you. But these are the things that we're focused on for this coming year.
Yeah.
As
I'm
we're
really
going
excited.
through our transition, but I was going to open up and see if there are any questions I can answer for you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for your presentations. Both of them were excellent and exciting, and I'm definitely more hopeful than I was when I woke up this morning.
Yay.
Yay. I do have the concern that a lot of the barriers that you talk about at that level in high school and going beyond are there at preschool. And one of the things that Project Grad did, especially in its first 12 years, was have that concept of graduating and going on to college at the earliest level, even in some of the preschool programs. So I think that we need to make sure we have something in place that that we can increase the percentage of the applications, the percentages of those who are completing the first year of college, because a lot of those kids that are going forward that we're really helping now, and I'm celebrating that, but also saying that there was a lot of kids that didn't get there because they didn't get it early on. What I found out, the wonderful thing about having parents who already have, we talk about first generation. Well, when you have second and third and fourth generations, they are programmed really from birth that
Yes.
you're going to go to college, or you're going to do this,
right.
or you're going to do that, and they have those exposures, and they've been empowered. So we have to make sure that those who don't have that at the earliest ages, and that's I guess my biggest concern is, how do we recapture or make sure we capture what Project GRAD did in those first 12 years, because they began to experience the increase in graduation rates after being in those early grade levels for a few years. You really saw that beginning to climb.
Yes, no, and I think that's a great question. And I'll have some more information I can share as we complete the strategic plan, but some of the things that we have focused on that is supporting that pre-K space, because in a number of things, again, there is that, hey, there are these opportunities there, just like as you mentioned, that funding has been endowed, so that's there. Families may not be aware of that, but those barriers that start early impact third grade reading scores, they impact student success, right on up. So there's some work that we're definitely going to do in that space. There's some groundwork that we're working on and some things that will help support that pre-K space with supporting families there, just like we're doing with the family support initiatives, but then also the fact that we have a number of students that just simply don't have access to early childhood programs. I would estimate that number's in the hundreds, and it's because of whether it's funding, and I think one of the future roles that the Foundation sees some ways to support is developing a coordinated enrollment mixed delivery model. Have done that before with another education foundation and found that to be successful. That will, again, in many ways address that bit by not just finding a program that those students can connect, but then providing those family supports and things to ensure that happens. So for us, as through this reorganization and transition, that'll be a piece that comes, but we're not quite ready to launch some of that this year, but let's stay connected on that, and I would love to bring those plans back to you when we get them together.
Again, great work. I just had one question too, because I know you mentioned that teachers, guidance counselors will reach out if there's a need. How do teachers and guidance counselors and our administrators learn about the programs and services that you're providing so that they do know that there are resources out there for their students?
Yes, no, that's a great question. We have some educating to do, because I think folks don't know that we're here. Because I get asked that a lot as folks are looking to say, what do you do now? And so are you PTA? No, you're the development office at UT? No,
Yeah.
no, not either one. And so we do have some educating to do with folks around, both on the philanthropy side with the community to say we're here and how we can help, right? But the second part is with that. So in Region 5, the first part will be our staff that are embedded there will be working with the school to help. That part will be seamless because they're there and there's some awareness and connection. Throughout the district, we'll have to build some awareness there, and then also we're working on those processes. So this summer, we've approved these in our budget. This summer, we'll be working on our processes internally and with KCS on how to do that, and then spending some time in the community and making folks aware.
Well, that's, we're really fortunate to have so many programs and services and support organizations, and I think sometimes our teachers and guidance counselors, they get overwhelmed.
They do.
And then, the question I have is that, how many organizations are doing similar services, and is there overlap? And it can be a lot. Like, in my mind, I think we need a quick sheet of every organization and the programs and services and what they do and what they provide for our students. I just think that would be a great tool for those that are kind of in the weeds, in the schools doing it. These counselors they're just so overwhelmed.
I love that question or thought, Kim, because part of what we're trying to do with the Knox Access work, so this would be high school specific, but I have those questions around providers in the high schools too. And so we're hoping to build a database that tracks like who the student is working with. And so really for me, it's about identifying gaps. So if Mike has 3 providers and Chrissy has none, right? How can we identify like what Chrissy needs in terms of resources and support? So John hasn't approved all that yet, but fingers crossed.
No pressure.
Putting you on the spot, John. But fingers crossed that that's something that we can get up and running, because I do know that we've been convening under the 70 by 24 umbrella, and all the organizations are really eager to know this information as well.
And I'll say with that too, one of the things that we're looking at with some funding for this year is a landscape analysis of what is out there and doing some studies to come back with, again, as we fund things as well, where are the gaps? Because in some places, just like you said, we have 3 and then right next door, there's none. And so it's to look at that and be more intentional and be aware about that. So that's something that's in our data and analysis this year, and we've been talking with the Boyd Center and some others on how we're going to do that, but to come back by the end of the next school year with something that gives us a picture of where things are. And as I've heard from folks as well, and some of the nonprofit partners we've talked to, changes in the community, populations of people are shifting. So where, in some places that were not at need before are now. And so where is that and where are those changes taking place?
And what I love about both of your organizations, you're both so involved in the community. I know I see you both out everywhere, and that you work well together. So it really does encompass K through 12 and beyond, which I love.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Any other questions?
Awesome. Well, thank you, too, for being here and just sharing some initiatives, next steps, what we can do to help you guys also so that your organizations can grow and our partnerships can grow. So thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Awesome. Does anybody have any new business or anything? I know this is our last meeting, right, Miss Terry? The last meeting until the fall, and maybe some people will continue on with this committee. I know I've done this committee for several years, and it's one of my favorite ones to be involved in because it is such a community-driven committee, and it really does bring the 2 governing bodies together so we can have a working relationship and collaborate and highlight some really cool things that are going on in Knox County. So that's my only new business.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your
And thank you,
leadership.
Daisha, for being my co-chair. We've been on this committee together for a couple years now. It's been good.
I guess we may see each other in September. Who knows?
Yeah. Anyone else? Awesome. Well, we gave you guys, 7 minutes? So, all right. Everyone have a good weekend.